Everyone, we are in New Bedford, Massachusetts. This is our 12th stop in the last 36 hours on the Truth, Freedom, Health Innovation Tour. It really has been so exciting going across Massachusetts and the incredible support and people that show up. I really enjoyed being part of this movement, and I share this over and over again, but I've never been a person involved in politics. I've never been a person to vote in a primary. So thank you all for what you're doing, right? And making sure that we're reminding our friends tomorrow, September 1st is the big day, right? Tuesday, to get out and vote. So for everyone on social media, if you've already voted for Dr. Shiva, thank you. And if you haven't yet, please let Dr. Shiva know that you will be supporting him by emailing him at yes@shivaforsenate.com. yes@shivaforsenate.com, so Dr. Shiva knows that he has your support. So over the last couple of days, like I said, we've been going around Massachusetts, and yesterday was a very important day, August 30th, because it was a celebration of the invention of email. So 38 years ago, Dr. Shiva, as a 14-year-old boy, invented the first email system. Yeah. And for anyone that would like a certificate for being here, please just email jen@vashiva.com, and I'll make sure that you get the copyright certificate signed by Dr. Shiva. So I am a mother and of an unvaccinated child. And this whole movement and everything that's happening right now in the world is also very important, because I believe in no forced vaccinations. And I know that Dr. Shiva is the only person that truly has our back, and is the only person I trust, for my family's health. So I'm going to let Dr. Shiva speak so he can share more about his wisdom and what he is going to do for us as the next U.S. Senator in Massachusetts. Oh, and also, if you are not on WhatsApp, please go to shivaforsenate.com/WhatsApp and make sure to join the group so you can stay connected with the campaign.
Thank you, Jen. He's got the camera. Thank you very much. It's great to be here in New Bedford, the #1 port, right, for fishing in America. Nearly $500 million. It's a $500 million industry. That's what this place right here provides to this country. $500 million worth of revenue in terms of supporting this entire state, in spite of the corrupt people who control it. From Charlie Baker to the Democrat establishment, they work together against the hardworking people of this state. And this state has been, particularly this area, New Bedford, has been under severe attack by the fact that both Democrats and Republican establishment, I'm not talking about lowercase d, someone here is a Democrat, but he's coming here with an open mind. So we have to distinguish the party establishments from the everyday people. So we have to make that distinction, because the establishment wants us fighting black and white, left and right. But I believe, someone who values the immense attributes of the American people. Look, I've traveled all over the world. I came from a country where we were considered low caste untouchables. Growing up in India, the American people are the kindest, nicest, sincere people that I've ever met. But they can be taken advantage of. And the politicians and the aristocracy in this country are taking advantage of everyday people. And the way they take advantage of us is to divide us, is to divide working people. Working people are the ones who work hard, believe in those values, left or right, believe that there is no distinction between black and white. I mean, I grew up in the working class neighborhoods of New Jersey. The white working class and the everyday people were never racist. They may have used some words, that's just nonsense, just ignorance. But that's not racism. The real racists are the white liberal elites in the 1 mile radius or in Cambridge who plant those Black Lives Matter signs, but they don't give a damn about black people. Right? That's who they are. We all know this, right? We all work hard. We all work with all different kinds of people. They want to divide the police from the people. So they have the Black Lives Matter and then the pro-police people. And if you're pro-police, you must be a racist. And if you're pro-black, right? So they pit whites against blacks. This is what they consistently do. And they always do it every election cycle. Have you noticed that? Every election cycle they do it. And this is not something that's just a feature of what goes on here. This is what these very horrible people called politicians do in every part of the world. That's what they do. And the interesting thing that occurred in 2016 was we didn't elect a politician. We elected someone who is not a politician. And they don't want that. And since Donald Trump's election in 2016, the swamp, Democrat, capital D and capital R establishment has been attacking him. And that's what we need to understand. Look, I have a clean voting record, a very clean voting record. I never voted for anyone until Trump ran. Why? Because in 1984, I figured out the game. I was an 17-year-old kid at MIT. And if you remember, that's when Reagan was running against, anyone remember? Mondale, right? And there was another guy running, supposedly an anti-establishment guy. Remember him? Jesse Jackson. The Rainbow Coalition. And, us, and he got, just like a lot of people got manipulated, particularly young people, by that crazy Bernie, okay? Jesse Jackson was manipulating young people. He said, wow, he sounds anti-establishment. But what did Jesse Jackson do at the last minute? He took all of his votes, and by the way, he was paid off, as I understand, by a nice private jet. That's the price he got. And he gave all of his votes to Mondale. So both wings of the establishment have their not-so-obvious establishment wing. So the Democrats have the Jesse Jacksons, the Bernie Sanders, who speak a lot of rhetoric to bring them back into the establishment. That's what Bernie did, right? A lot of my friends in 2016, they said, oh, you got to vote for Bernie. I said, no. I said, he's going to do exactly what Jesse Jackson did. He takes advantage of people. He's never held a job. Never. And that's one feature we need to start looking at. Do these people actually have jobs? How did they make their money? Did they work hard as a waitress, as a plumber? Did they do some service? Did they do anything? You never did a job. They shouldn't be representing us at all. X, right? You're fired, okay? You're not qualified. So what did Bernie Sanders do? Talked a good game, and just like Jesse Jackson, he bowed down to one of the most corrupt crime families in this country, the Clintons. That's what he did. Hillary Clinton got $100 million from the Gates Foundation for Gavi. That entire Clinton Global Initiative is one of the biggest tax evasion scams, just like the Gates Foundation, just like the Zuckerberg Foundation. In this country today, about $1.7 trillion. $1.7 trillion is owned in foundations, family foundations. It's legalized corruption and tax evasion. That's what they do. So as a Republican, we're not supposed to be for taxes, but I say we should tax the hell out of those people. Because what they do is they actually do legalized tax evasion with their lawyers. That's what lawyers do. Lawyers are not one of us. Tax the 1% and tax all those people who run these foundations, because what does Bill Gates do? He makes his money, and all these foundations, instead of paying taxes like we all do, they have a lot of it takes a lot of money to do this. You get all your lawyers. They create a thing called a foundation. They move their money into the family foundation. They only have to distribute 5% of that according to the foundation rules. And then what they do is they use that money. They can buy all sorts of stuff, homes, airplanes, jets, everything through that foundation. And then they use that foundation. It's not fair. They use that foundation then to direct policy. Okay? So what have they done? Over here, if they had $50 billion and they paid their 40%, which would have been $2 billion that would have gone into public, right, to pave the roads and all that, they move it over here, they invest it, and then they can use that money to direct public policy. You know what they've done? They've created their own government. That's what they're doing. And $1.7 trillion gets tax evasion. It's legalized tax evasion that they do. Well, you, me, I pay all sorts of taxes. I run many businesses, payroll tax, excise tax, right? All these taxes. They don't pay any taxes. Harvard University does not pay. Now they suddenly got to pay a little tax. But They don't pay any property tax. They own 600 acres of Cambridge, billions of dollars worth of Cambridge real estate. They don't pay any property tax. I own a building in Cambridge. I pay about $150,000 in property tax. Charlie Baker said, the businesses there don't have to pay me rent, but I still have to pay taxes. You see how all this works? None of this makes any sense. This is no different when you look at it. The irrational behavior is no different than when we had the king over here, King George. He had a crown on his head, and they brainwashed all of us. This was total brainwashing of the human race, that only those with the crowns had a direct connection to God, right? That was a brainwashing. And we don't have any connection. We have to go through the king, right? That's what they sold us on. And what's that? They think they're noble. It was called nobility, all right? And they had different levels of nobility. Kings, knights, etc. So the king was the only one who was connected to God, and we were the subjects of the king. So through that brainwashing, we said, okay, we will give you 30-40% of whatever we grew. It was yours. That was a tax. Well, today, the average American, when you add up all the taxes, pays 60% to the king. That's what's happened. And that king is Charlie Baker. Now in 1775, to this day, plus or minus 7 days, is when King George on August 23rd declared all of us his enemies. I don't know if you know that. That's when the negotiations broke down. That's when the American Revolution actually started on August 23rd. It was a proclamation of the king. We became rebels on August 23rd. On that day is we called a massive rally in the Boston Common, not on the steps of the state legislature, which are led by misleaders, and we'll talk about that. There's a lot of misleaders in this movement. We called it in the Commons. Why? The Commons is where revolutionary activity took place. The state legislature is where the fake movements take place. They go us and beg to the legislators. We don't beg. We go to the Commons, and that's what we did. 200 people showed up. Then we called another one on the 29th. The other group said, oh, it's going to rain. Let's do it when the sun shines. Fair weather friends. Rain or shine, we always, take up arms and we fight. They find out when it's right, so they get the nice pictures. And this group, Fake Choice, Health Choice, controlled by Big Pharma, controlled by the Kennedys who've done nothing, has not stopped forced vaccinations. They're making money through their foundations. Robert F. Kennedy is not a fighter against vaccines. He's for quote-unquote safe vaccines. There is no thing called safe vaccines. Okay? The only thing is the right medicine for the right person at the right time. That's science, and you're hearing that from an MIT PhD biological engineer who studied this and is considered one of the leading guys on the immune system. So what we really need to get smartened up on, us working people, Democrat and Republican, lowercase d and r, is for far too long they split us and they divide us. And that's what the establishment does. And that politics is how we don't unite. It's engineered. It's like, you vote for, Club A, the Yankees or the Red Sox, right? That's not what this is about. This is about our lives. And so we need to start recognizing that we need to understand the physics, how change actually takes place. And when we understand that, we will have change overnight. And whenever working people have understood the dynamics of real change, change occurs, like super fast. So here's the definition of change. Here's the definition of revolution. I've studied revolution as a scientist. You can get my book, Right System. Anyone who donates to the campaign, we give it to you. It's not about featuring the book, but just like I studied science and medicine, I wanted to study how change takes place. Because I grew up in a world in India where we were considered the lowest of the low. I wanted to understand why there was oppression, why there was injustice. So I studied everyone. I didn't care whether you called them left or right. I studied Marx. I studied Che. I studied, Thomas Paine. I studied every book I could read. And what I found out was real change was not done top down. The real change, people like these quote-unquote revolutionaries, they weren't revolutionaries. They were a few set of people dictating top down. The real revolutions took place when we as people, bottoms up, decentralized, not centralized. And that's what happened with many of these movements that failed. When we go decentralized bottoms up, we always win. You know why? Because they can't control us. They always want things controlled top down. Let's call up Robert Kennedy. Let's have him control the forced vaccination movement. Okay? Call him up. Civil rights movement, let's call up, that's what they do. Even protest movements, they control it top down. They don't want things bottom, exactly, controlled opposition, big money. They're very clever. The way we defeat that is bottoms up. So that's the first lesson everyone needs to learn. We as working people organize by understanding this very important feature. You have the obvious establishment like the Clintons and the Bushes and the Romneys and the Obamas, and then you have the not so obvious establishment like the Bernie Sanders, okay? Like the Charlie Bakers, people who talk a good game on the left and the right. But ultimately their goal is to bring us back by manipulating us, and that's what they keep doing. But the history of change has always been us organizing bottoms up. So we don't measure our success by did we get on Fox News, by did we get on the Boston Globe. In fact, our campaign has purposefully denied when they call us, we don't give them interviews. Why? Because they always manipulate anything we say. Doesn't matter. We get our message out to our 2 million followers direct. That's how we do it, direct. We put up lawn signs. We put up our own bumper stickers. We get volunteers to show up in New Bedford. Direct, and we go direct to people. It's the only way to win. Because we don't want to be begging them for a little change. We want a big win. And the big win right now is that the GOP establishment, the big R, works in collusion with the big D. Okay? This is why Charlie Baker passed this forced vaccination. He didn't do it on his own. He had friends from his Democrat friends. There's a reason in Massachusetts the governors are always big R's and the senators are always big D's. Why is that? Well, you have Charlie Baker taking selfies with Elizabeth Warren when I ran. Literally. He didn't support me. He found a designated loser called Dirty Jeff Deal, who's a fool. I mean, think about this guy. He's a failed sign salesman, lives off of his wife's ballet revenue, okay? Seriously, he doesn't have a job. He's jobless. Seriously, he has no skills. But he does have the skills to be a liar. He photoshopped a picture with President Trump. There's 3 hands in the picture, okay? Charlie Baker promoted him because a lot of people were liking the president. And this is how insidious the establishment is. They create fake versions of the real thing. You know, it's like Chinese ripoffs. That's what he was. So they promoted him as a fake Trumper. I called him out. They didn't like that, so we ran as independents. And as you know, we got 100,000 votes. And they kept me off the debate stage 2 years ago. Illegally. Well, this time, because of how much popularity, they're begging me, why don't you debate him? I'm not. You have to apologize for what you did. You have to own up. And we're not here to give our popularity to you. You must apologize. And they haven't. Because they know there's nothing to debate. This guy's a fool who Baker's found. His website, cock for Senate. I'm sorry. That's how bad, that's his website. Did you know that? Okay, this is how foolish these people are. They found some guy who has 100 Twitter followers, who's a lawyer, who voted for Ed Markey, gave him money. This is Baker's buddy. This is what they do. Designated losers. It's like WWF wrestling, okay? By the time the championships come, it's Doofus 1 and Doofus 2. Doesn't matter which Doofus wins or loses, the establishment always wins. So they think we're all stupid, okay? And we can't be stupid anymore. We can't be brainwashed. We can't do it anymore. The Kennedys, one of the biggest crime families. Rape, deceit, and murder, beautiful pictures, Camelot, this is all PR. Look, they have, I've worked with these people. They have very high-paid PR people who follow them around, take those beautiful black and white pictures, Photoshop it, add the lighting. I mean, this is what these people do. Joe Kennedy, he comes out of a homeless shelter. They don't allow me to speak there. He comes out, and I ask him, Joe, what do you have to say about the fact Massachusetts had the highest increase in homelessness in the United States, higher than California? You know what he said? I don't know anything about that. But he was in there for a good hour, like this, acting like he cared, taking pictures of poor black people, poor veterans, poor whites for his website. It's disgusting, isn't it? It's fake. I don't need pictures of black people and poor people. I have them in my album at home, okay? But he does. These people do not know what it means to be working people, so everything's fake. It's manufactured, and it's done by Madison Avenue. We don't have speechwriters. Everything we do is authentic. We don't... The video you saw online, which has gone viral, I wrote, John Medlar produced, we did it by ourselves. Because people, bottoms up, are very creative. We don't need them. Do we? We don't need them. They brainwash us into thinking we need some Hollywood person to endorse us. Come on in. Right? Everything is about taking away our strength and belief in ourselves. And that is what we have to overcome. And that is the abuse that they do to us at a very fundamental level. They abuse us by making us think it's okay to be abused. Why would anyone else ever get elected if we raped and murdered and left someone, in a ditch? But Ted Kennedy did, right? Because why? They have a lot of good PR people promoting that name. Why should a 38-year-old guy who's never held a job ever think he should run for Senate? Why should Ed Malarkey, who's never done anything, has no skills? I mean, you have skills. You're an HVA. You have skills. You know how to fix stuff. What have they fixed yet? They say, I will fix problems. No, you don't know anything about fixing anything.
They can't even fix the problem.
Exactly. Lawyers make money by prolonging problems. Cha-ching, cha-ching, cha-ching. They bill by the hour. The longer the problem goes on. You don't fix a problem and you don't get your invoice paid, right? I have HVAC guys. If they don't fix it, I call them back. Lawyers, you call them back. Cha-ching. More hours, more hours, more hours. Okay? So we, as working people, have got to stop being abuse victims. That's what we are. We're in an abusive relationship. You follow what I'm saying? We are in an abusive relationship with these people because they're not one of us. And this happens in people's in relationships. You think the person you're in a relationship is a good person, find out they're not one of you. They don't have the same values. Some people stay in these relationships for 10, 15, 20, 30, and they live horrible lives. And then one day they wake up and they say, wow, maybe I should get the hell out of this. And that day is when they get their freedom. I'm being serious. It's a codependent relationship. And they know that they manipulate people. And the way they do it, they make you feel less and they make them feel better. It's total mind manipulation. And that's what's going on. It's engineered. But you know what? They do nothing. What do lawyers do? Nothing. I'm running against 3 lawyers. We're running against 3 lawyers. Kennedy, Malarkey, and some other idiot. And Baker finds idiots to run to lose to his Democrat friends. So the governorship is held by a R, big R, and the Democratship is held by a big D. And you know who loses? Us. How do we lose? Highest increase in homelessness. Number 2, Massachusetts has the worst unemployment rate 3 months in a row right now. Worse. 3rd, we have an F minus in infrastructure. Not a D, not a C, an F minus. What's that? Where are all your taxes going? I'll give you an example where they're going. We got a letter from Karen Polito and Charlie Baker's office because when you're driving down the highway, apparently there was a sign put up on one of those blue things. We didn't do it. We would never condone that. They probably did it. So they sent us a bill for $50,000. They said, oh, because we had to paint it and redo it. Now, I don't know how it would cost $50,000 to take down a sign and paint it. I could build probably 10 bathrooms, remodel 10 bathrooms. So think about how they're overcharging us. That's what they do. So Massachusetts also got rated the 10th worst in corruption. 10th worst. 10th worst in corruption. 3rd worst in infrastructure. 125 points out of 350 points. By the American Society of Civil Engineers, broken bridges, broken roads, broken water systems, dirty air, dirty water, dirty food, which are the fundamentals of public health. So You also have conservatives. I'm a conservative. I believe in pro-life. I believe life begins at conception. And it's not because I believe as a scientist. There's no argument here. Within the moment that the sperm meets the egg, the epithelial forms, it's another life form. So let's take it out of any even religious argument. 120 papers written on this. There are 2 lives. So anyone who says they're not killing something is just lying to themselves. Now the conservatives miss another piece of it. When the baby comes out of the womb, you have atrazine, you have all glyphosate, you have GMOs, you're feeding your baby dirty water, dirty air, and dirty food. So a lot of conservatives will be quote-unquote pro-life here, but they won't be pro-life in making sure that they don't elect people who support companies like Monsanto. We need to have pro-life. So I'm pro-life to the power of 2. In the womb and outside of the womb. Okay? Otherwise, it's hypocrisy. Right? So if you want to be pro-life, let's be pro-life. And then the people who want to be pro-choice don't want to give school choice. Right? They're the hypocrites. Choice for themselves, choice for the wealthy, so they can have choice in their school systems, but our kids can't have choice. You see what I'm saying? This is a hypocrisy. But if you go down to the lowercase r's and the lowercase d's, which is all of us working people, we want the same thing. And I believe you'll probably agree with me, sir, on this. We all want fairness. We want to make sure that this country is based on people working hard. Everyone should put their time in, get a skill, learn. This country offers so much. You go vote tech degrees, it's free. Okay? No one should not have a skill in this country. If you do, you're a leech. You're leeching on, especially if you can work. If you can't work, and God forbid you're a paraplegic and you serve this country, yes, we should be compassionate. And even those people want to work. Right? I used to work with an organization called, Artists with Disabilities. All of them want to work, even blind people. So there's no excuse not to work. It's part of the human spirit. So those people who come and they don't want to work, and they want to take advantage of this country, maybe we should do a citizen exchange program. Maybe the quote-unquote illegal immigrants who actually did come, and maybe some of them are not bad people. Maybe they do want to put in a good time. Put them on the bottom of the list. Let them start paying taxes. And maybe those people who don't want to work should do a citizen exchange program. Okay? So this country, number one, everyone will agree, was based on work. You worked, hard work, you took risks, and you made your way. However, the elites in this country do not work. So they want to subvert both sides. They want their group never to pay taxes, foundations. 600 billionaires made $2.3 trillion in the last 90 days. Did you know that? No. 600 billionaires. Jeff Bezos, the head of Facebook, they increased their wealth by 2.3 trillion on our backs using this coronavirus fear-mongering scam. What's that? Moderna? Which, by the way, this stuff is going to be a recurring revenue model. It doesn't work. So what's happening is the biggest consolidation of wealth. On the other extreme, you have the thugs. So you have now dividing over here. You put a BLM sign. You must be for black people. Over here, you support the police. You must be a white supremacist. And that's how they get people fighting. The reality is those people put those BLM signs don't give a damn about black people. They don't. And they don't give a damn about police. The issue is police and people have always been united. And when revolutions take place, guess what? The police always come to our side. They want to separate us. The highly wealthy people will get private security. They'll have all, you see Bernie Sanders, he talks against guns. He's got his guy right there with a lot of guns next to him. They're the hypocrites. One rule for them and another rule for us. And then the thugs will have all the weapons they need. So what we got to realize is no one is going to take care of us like us. So when we're looking at who is going to fight for us or represent us, where did they come from? Are they lawyers? No. Do they have a job? Do they need this job? Do they only want to serve one term? That's all I want to do. Because if they're going this to serve multiple terms, there's a problem right there. They should go in. 6 years is a long time for a Senate seat. Even 2 years is a long time. You can get an associate's degree in 2 years. You can do a lot in 2 years, right? So you go in and you get out. One term and you're out. And why is that important? And this is what I want to leave you with. The reason that's important is the following. Because the way this system is rigged is they find foolish puppets, the establishment, to be run in politics. That's why in this primary right here, the reason the primary election is so important, it's like, again, WWF wrestling. They have the playoffs, which are the primaries. That's where they choose their doofuses. They make sure people don't vote in primaries because they have a finite set of people they want to vote. The Republican establishment does this, and the Democrat establishment. The doofus that they want, they make sure they corral all the sheep into that primary booth so they get their doofus in, but they don't want a real, authentic person like us in there. That's why we got to vote in the primary and destroy them. We win this primary, it's kind of like a nuke went off for the establishment, both sides. Because right now, their goal is to have Doofus 1 go against Marky Doofus 2, but they always win. They don't want someone real like us, and that's what you have before us. We have a chance to make history. We got 20,000 donations, small dollar donations. Went right into those signs, not into my pocket, not into... We don't have any paid volunteers. Did you know that? Not one paid volunteer. Not one. So judge that. Go look at Kennedy's campaign, how many volunteers he's got. Why does he need any money? Why is he asking for donations? The Kennedys have $1 billion trust. Why is Robert Kennedy so-called fighting vaccines? Why does he ask $30,000? Look at what, and yet we excuse abusive behavior. Oh, I guess the Kennedys must need money. No, they don't.
KOC paid for his signatures, too.
What's that?
KOC paid for
Yeah,
his signatures.
the guy I'm running against and all of them paid for their signatures to get on the ballot. We collected our signatures. You see what they do? They're cheaters. They don't work. They're not Americans. Americans are supposed to work. They cheat, they cheat, they cheat. Don't be abused. We're not abuse victims anymore, right? What's that? We woke up and we're going to be liberated and we stand up for ourselves. You got to walk away from these fools. They don't deserve us. Exactly. Massachusetts is broken and we need a doctor to fix it. That says it all. Okay? Massachusetts is broken and we need a doctor to fix it. What? Thank you. Thank you. Excellent. That's what we need. So in closing, what I want to say is, when you look at the words truth, freedom, and health, they're not just words. Behind freedom, we have the Digital Rights Act. We already have the bill ready. I've already done the homework. I always used to do the homework before and get it done and do more. Okay? So that's the kind of good student I am. They cheat. They actually copy. All these guys copy other people's homework. I don't do that. I do the homework ahead of time. So we got the Digital Rights Act, which makes sure that we really get real freedom by empowering the Postal Service to make sure all of us become back to free press. Number one, it's a real solution. Real solution. Number two, the Citizen Science Act. That's how we get truth. Making sure that the academics who we fund do research. That data is our data. I want to see the climate change data. I want to see all their data when they say hydroxychloroquine doesn't work. They don't have the data. They make it up. The fake news behind fake news is fake science. The Citizen Science Act solves that and basically cuts them right off at the legs. They can't do that anymore. Right? That's what we do. And finally, we have the Health Rights Act. Health comes not top down, but bottoms up. You having a relationship with your nurse or your doctor, they look at you, they actually look at you, like my grandmother used to do in that village. She would figure out what was the right medicine for the right person at the right time. There's no top-down medicine, no mandates, and the solution to that in my Health Rights Act is we must repeal the 1962 Kennedy Vaccination Act. No compromise. Not begging, please give me medical exemptions. That's begging. And that's what Fake Choice, Health Choice, and Kennedy have been doing, making us beggars. Because when we're beggars, we give them money to help us. We don't need their help, we help ourselves. Right? We don't need them. We help ourselves. That's the Health Rights Act. Truth, freedom, and health. 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 That's what we do. And that's from New Bedford, from the people in this area who are hard-working people. We do not let ourselves be abused anymore. That's really the message. We stand up for ourselves. and no to these leeches, no to these parasites. So September 1st, make history.
Yes.
It's our chance to make history. That's right, we make history. Black and white, beyond black and white, beyond left and right, working people unite. Get you vote, you vote, you vote, pledge to vote, right? Everyone vote in the primary, and then get 10 other people to vote. And the simple message you got to tell them is, do you want a person who's one of us, whose work bottoms up, an MIT PhD who solves problems, or do you want another stupid lawyer? It's up to you. It's that simple. Do you want a lawyer or someone who fixes problems? Do you want someone who makes their money by creating problems or by solving problems? And if you want the person who doesn't fix problems and is a leech, then you deserve everything you get. I want to fix problems. We need real change in this country. Right? We need real change. Not fake change. Real change. So let's do it. September 1st, everyone get to the polls, get people out to vote. We have to win. Let's make history. Let's send a big nuclear bomb right into the establishment. Big D and big R. What do you say? All right. Thank you very much for coming. Be well. All right. Thank you, everyone. We have T-shirts. We have lawn signs. We have buttons. Take them all. Let's win, win, win. Thank you.